The planet of Armageddon has well earned its name after millennia of being ravaged by pollution and war. Yet, while much of this world has been made inhospitable to life, from this crucible of death has been forged one of the most formidable armies of the Imperial Guard. Spewing forth from the manufactorums of its hive cities come mechanized regiments with not just the armor and firepower to hold the line, but an aggressive, mobile doctrine to drive the enemy back. Today, we shall explore the unique nature of their armed forces. From the survival gear of a typical guardsman, to their unique Armageddon pattern vehicles, the mechanized infantry formations, the armored columns, the support units, and more. Altogether, these forces unite with the rare privilege of operating as truly combined arms regiments, capable of punching well above their weight class. This is the true size of the Armageddon Steel Legion.
So as is pretty obvious, I love history and I love fantasy, and I love bringing those two together to do my very own world building. So for instance, for my D&D campaign, this has meant creating tons of maps, filling binders with lore, and doing my best to keep the rest of it in my head. Creating all this has been a labor of love and a deep passion, but unfortunately over the years it means that it's gotten quite overwhelming with the staggering amount of content that I have. Some stuff has been outright lost or relegated to the dustbins of my garage. Now, thankfully, I found worldanvil.com a couple years back, and it's been the answer to all of my problems. They make it really easy to upload, build, preserve, and present your world building. Now, apparently their team is actually fans of this channel, and they reached out for a sponsorship, to which I immediately agreed because I think it's an amazing tool. So let me show you why. So here's a landing page I created for my D&D homebrew campaign that my players can delve into just like it's a wiki. For the backstory, they can actually access the timeline, which traces back the known history of the realm. For the setting, they can access my world codex for quick links to things like the pages for my various kingdoms, the religions, and more. Now, as you can see, it's a super customizable format, where I can write up lore, provide reference images, and even link in my own maps. Speaking of maps, you have to check out this feature. So here's the starting region for my players. It's in the Kingdom of Tiras. Now there is a physical version available to them, but the digital version is just rendered that much more powerful by the features in World Anvil. So for one, it's digital, you can zoom in and scroll, really soak in all those details. And what's really cool is as the kind of owner of this page, I can load up different layers to the map. So for instance, in my map, politics, diplomacy, all of that is very important. So you can see here I turn on the political map and now players get access to see who rules what realm, what is their crest, and all that. An additional feature you're seeing is you can actually go ahead and drop pins. So I'm using this much like an MMO where there might be a quest, for instance here. So look, missing children. So I can make people aware of open quests that they have not done yet. I can mark victories. For instance, they fought some goblins up here, so I can mark that victory. There might be a nearby mine or some other dungeon that they haven't explored. You can actually literally track the progress of players. You can draw lines and add notes on that. So in this case, I was marking where they've been at different parts in the session so that they know when and where to backtrack. And in addition to that, as players collect stuff that's valuable, like maps, I can actually embed those notes. So for instance here, as they explored the edges of this kind of known world here, they got a scout's map and they can access the details for what lays beyond. Speaking of that, you can actually link your different maps together. So let's say, for instance, the players went all the way here to the capital of KOTOR. Well, actually, if you want to get that map, you can drop a pin, and you can link it directly to that map. And same thing, populate this with new pins that link you to other places, NPCs, loot, things of that nature. In this case, I just want to quickly show you how I link the Kingdom of Tiras here into my neighboring realms. So here to the south are the pledged cities of Amman, and same thing, we can toggle on the political boundaries. You can see that this one is being encroached upon by an invasion. If you keep going even further south, you then get access to the furthest south I expect my players to go. So yeah, this is a lot better than just purely physical maps. Now I can't emphasize enough just how much this one feature changed the way we do our campaign, and the players absolutely love World Anvil. But that's just scratching the surface of what's possible here. There's a ton more tools for adding in NPCs, locations, plots, and more. You can even manage campaigns with integrated stat blocks, character sheets, inventory management, and more. It's honestly been a dream come true. So get started today by clicking the link in the description below to get 51% off any yearly subscription to World Anvil. Check out some tutorials, get world building, and let me know what you've created. Enjoy!
Across the Imperium, Guard regiments come in many shapes and sizes. Each one is a reflection of the unique character of its home planet, whose essence has been pressed into the mold of service requirements set by the Astra Militarum. For some, this means fielding elite shock infantry, for others, heavy tanks, or large-caliber artillery. Few are the planets which have the right to field combined arms forces. The regiments from Armageddon are one such exception. This is due to the vaulted service of the Steel Legions across the broader story of their homeworld. Let us now review this briefly. The planet of Armageddon is located to the galactic northeast of Segmentum Solar. However, in millennia past, it had resided elsewhere in the galaxy under the name of Ulanor. It was here that this world had once acted as the throne of successive Orc empires whose warlords had threatened to cast the galaxy aflame. From M30 to M32, the Imperium had been forced to wage multiple crusades against this threat, the most significant being the War of the Beast. Upon its bloody conclusion, Ulanor was to be damned to exterminatus and cast into a star. However, the Adeptus Mechanicus wished to claim the vital Xenos secrets within its depths, and chose instead to secretly relocate the entire planet using reverse-engineered Orc technology. Over the following millennia, the planet would be rediscovered and colonized by the Imperium. Though Ulanor bore trace scars of its dark history, much of it had been obscured by the passing of time and the after-effects of being teleported to an entirely new solar system. Yet, even in its current state, the planet proved suitable for development and rapidly rose to become an industrial hub of the Imperium. However, this period of relative prosperity would not last long, as pollution and war overtook the planet, earning it a new name: Armageddon. By the 41st millennium, Armageddon's population would be concentrated within a series of hive cities strewn across the main continent, which is split by an equatorial jungle. To the north lies the continent known as the Fire Wastes. It is a hot, arid region of mineral extraction, which has been strip-mined far beyond the point that it can maintain any living ecosystem. The southern continent, known as the Deadlands, is a cold, ice-covered, equally inhospitable region soaked with pollution, which serves as the main source of fresh water for Armageddon's inhabitants. This level of environmental destruction has left the planet in a vicious cycle of degradation, as the land, seas, and skies are choked off by millennia of industrial byproducts, organic decay, and volcanic activity, to the point that an average human cannot survive outside without specialist gear. Such conditions would be intolerable enough. However, over just the last century, these lands have been ravaged by 3 massive globe-spanning conflicts. The first such war for Armageddon saw the demon prince Angron lead an invasion of World Eaters, while the second and third wars for Armageddon saw the Orc war boss Gazkul Mag Uruk Thraka launch successive wars to take the planet. Throughout these conflicts, the Steel Legion distinguished itself for its staunch resolve in the face of overwhelming odds, often finding victory not just by holding the line, but by taking the fight to the enemy with bold, aggressive counterattacks. In these efforts, few embodied this warrior spirit better than Sebastian Yarrick. This commissar had arisen as the hero of Hades' Hive, for personally leading the defenses that held back the Green Tide on multiple occasions. Such heroics included confronting mighty war bosses in hand-to-hand combat, leading to the loss of an arm and later an eye. But what he lost was replaced with augmented bionics that only further enhanced his ability and his drive to take back Armageddon. With this background in mind, let us now see how they operate. In terms of organization, a Steel Legion regiment is rather flexible in nature, at least compared to some of its more standardized Imperial peers. This is owed to the fact that they can field combined arms forces of infantry, mechanized infantry, tanks, super heavy tanks, and artillery. Such forces are further bolstered by the addition of support units at both the company and regimental level, meant to further enhance the capabilities of the Legion. Yet regardless of their specific makeup, in overall doctrine, Steel Legions tend to be mobile and aggressive. This is made possible by their proportionately high number of mechanized units and the rarely seen support of fast strike aircraft. Acting in tight coordination, such forces are capable of punching well above their weight class by outmaneuvering larger or better equipped foes. Due to such reliance on war machines, the Steel Legion maintains regular pacts with the Adeptus Mechanicus, who send tech priests and engineers to see to the needs of these vehicles. An example of the composition of an Armageddon regiment, we can review the high-level table of organization for the 473rd Steel Legion. It is composed of a regimental HQ, 12 mechanized infantry companies, 6 infantry companies, and 5 fire support companies. In reinforcements are added 3 artillery companies, 2 tank squadrons, and 1 company of Orc Hunter skirmishers. The entire vehicle pool is overseen by an envoy of tech priests and servitors. In total, this amounts to some 4,600 troops. But the 473rd is a rather large infantry-heavy force by Armageddon standards. The more typical Steel Legion regimental template usually consists of 12 companies. Depending on their make, these might be classified as light, regular, or heavy variants of the infantry, mechanized, armored, and artillery regiments. For the sake of our video, we shall be modeling a more balanced regiment composed of 1 regimental HQ unit, 2 infantry companies, 4 mechanized infantry companies, 2 fire support companies, 2 tank companies, and 1 artillery company. Bolted onto it are additional support units at both the company and regimental level. Most notable among these are the Air Force units that include 1 Vulture squadron and 1 Valkyrie squadron, carrying a Stormtrooper platoon. And finally, overseeing all the machines of war will be an Omniscient Envoy for a grand total of about 2,400 troops. With this high-level overview in mind, let us now take a closer look at the individual unit breakdowns. We can begin with the infantry. The typical Steel Legion recruit is drawn from the large underclass population which makes up the social base of Armageddon's various hive cities. In such environments, only the strong survive the brutal environmental conditions and savage gang wars which plague the underhives. Thus does natural selection precondition recruits for life in the Steel Legion. Basic training proves relatively short for such guardsmen who often have a background as veteran gang members and urban fighters. What truly marks their transformation is the adoption of the Steel Legion's standard outfit. This includes black fatigues, carapace armor, a desert pattern trench coat, gloves, a steel helmet, a gas mask and rebreather, along with other items meant to improve the odds of their survival in the harsh environments of Armageddon. Together, individual soldiers will be grouped into a 10-man squad led by a sergeant and seconded by a corporal. For offense, troops will pack M36 pattern lasguns, 4 frag grenades, and a handful of smoke and flash grenades. 2 guardsmen of the squad carry heavier support weapons such as grenade or missile launchers. Corporals are usually assigned to carry the squad's Voxcaster for inter-team comms. Officers, meanwhile, are often distinguished by their use of chainswords and skull-emblazoned masks meant to strike fear in superstitious orc foes. Alongside the standard infantry squads come special weapons squads. Composed of 5 specialist guardsmen led by a 6th seasoned corporal. These are skilled units meant to handle a variety of roles. For instance, recon is vital to the fast-moving tempo of the Steel Legion, and thus a squad might feature 3 pairs of snipers and spotters. Against the orc charges, which frequently wash upon the Imperial lines of Armageddon, suppression or wave-clearing weaponry is also favoured, as are anti-armour specialists wielding portable missile launchers who can be used as scalpels to knock out high-priority targets that might otherwise contest their own mechanized dominance. Another foundational unit is the 6-man Heavy Weapons Squad. It is composed of 3 2-man teams with the senior-most man, often a corporal, acting as the overall lead. What distinguishes such heavy weapons squads from their specialist counterparts is that they boast even more high-powered weapons at the cost of reduced mobility. The exact kit is tailored to the mission at hand. This might include anti-infantry weapons such as mortars, heavy bolters, and autocannons, or anti-armor weapons such as las cannons and heavy missile launchers. At the next level comes the infantry platoon, led by a lieutenant and their HQ. For our model, we shall assume that this infantry platoon has 4 standard infantry squads, 5 heavy weapons teams, for a total of 50 combat troops. At the top of their chain of command is the platoon leader and their HQ. This staff will typically include a flag bearer, a Vox operator, and additional technical experts or specialists. When deployed, this staff will be assigned a Chimera APC. Not only does this grant them protection and mobility in the field, but it also hosts important equipment, such as long-range Voxcasters for communication with high command. Mechanized infantry platoons are of the same overall composition as their foot-based comrades, with the main difference being that now each squad has its own Chimera APC or equivalent for transport and support. The same duality exists for the fire support platoons. The standard version features 10 heavy weapons teams. These will be kitted with a range of weapons to properly support the needs of its parent unit. Mechanized variants are similarly armed, with the main difference being that all troops and their heavy gear will be loaded onto chimeras for rapid mobilization. At the next level, several platoons will be joined into a company of around 200 troops, led by a captain and their HQ. Our model will assume a moderately sized and balanced infantry company. It is composed of 3 of our previously defined infantry platoons and 1 heavy weapons platoon, made up of 10 heavy weapons teams split into groups of mortar, anti-tank, and fire support squads. This unit has its own platoon HQ, led by a lieutenant. Their staff will consist of at least 4 NCOs. Attached to this group may be a commissar whose role as a political officer is to enforce morale, discipline, and loyalty to the Emperor. The entire HQ staff will also have its own transports for men, materials, and specialized equipment. Once more, it should be noted that mechanized infantry companies are a mirror image of the standard infantry company, with the main addition being yet more chimeras. Beyond what has already been mentioned, additional support units can be attached to a company to function as part of their organic structure. Typically, this practice is limited to 3 such units, which may include any of the following: a 2-man sniper team, a 2-man Ogrin team, a fire support platoon, an infantry platoon, a tank squadron, a hellhound squadron, a Griffin battery, and a Hydra flak tank. In this way, does an Armageddon company have some of the greatest tactical flexibility of all Imperial Guard units. This combined arms concept is further reinforced as we now cover the vehicle companies, which exist within the same regiments as their infantry counterparts. To get a sense of things, let us first begin with the types of vehicles one might encounter among their ranks, starting with the light variants. On the smallest end of the scale is the humble motorbike. Such all-terrain scramblers allow Steel Legion troops to quickly traverse the ash wastes of Armageddon. In this capacity do they act as the eyes and ears of the army, conducting recon missions or even hit-and-run strikes well in advance of the main body. Next come the Sentinels. These bipedal, all-terrain walkers are present across much of the Astra Militarum as a form of light vehicle that excels at reconnaissance or search and destroy operations. However, the Armageddon pattern stands out in that it is more robustly armored against both threats from combat and the planet's corrosive environment. In this way do they have greater tolerance than bikes for extended operation in the wastelands. The Armageddon pattern Sentinel is also often equipped with more robust weaponry to serve as tank hunter and bunker busters in terrain that might otherwise be inaccessible to the larger vehicles typically required to fill such roles. In combat, these light vehicles will be formed into squadrons. For the bikes, this typically means grouping about 5 to 10 of them together into a Rough Rider squad led by a sergeant. Sentinels, meanwhile, are more commonly grouped into squadrons of 3 to 5 vehicles, with a mix of weapons and equipment to mutually support one another. At the next level, bike and Sentinel squadrons can be grouped into a platoon. These may be pure or mixed vehicle units that will be dynamically configured to meet the needs of the mission at hand. For instance, a scout platoon may feature 3 to 5 Rough Rider squads with a mobile HQ staff for fast, low-profile travel. A light tank hunter platoon, meanwhile, may have just 2 to 3 Sentinel squads meant to hunt and kill a designated target. A recon platoon might feature a mix of Rough Rider and Sentinel squads for more balanced capabilities. At the next level, it is possible to have companies composed solely of bikes and Sentinels. However, these are extremely rare. Instead, regiments will tend to split out their light vehicles among the ranks of other companies to better achieve the desired combined arms balance. Thus, we will now be best served to move on to the heavier vehicles of the Steel Legion. Here we will begin with the Chimera. Across the Imperial Guard, this is one of the most ubiquitous armoured transports. Measuring roughly 6 meters wide, 7 meters long and 4 meters tall, with a total weight of 38 tons, it has enough space to house a driver, a gunner, and 12 guardsmen in the troop compartment. But, as the name implies, the Chimera has been endlessly adapted for a range of other battlefield roles such as communication, logistics, and scouting. All of these variants can be produced locally on Armageddon, with the main difference being that these patterns have been upgraded to meet the higher requirements for environmental tolerance. Over the course of the long Orc Wars on Armageddon, some manufacturers have even taken to adapting their chimeras to answer specific enemy threats, such as the Defender variant, which boasts a long-range anti-armor laser destroyer. For more heavy-hitting vehicles, we can now turn to the Steel Legion tanks. Once more, it should be said that these are similar to their base Imperial models, with the improved armor and atmospheric sealing to be expected of the Armageddon patterns. They also often sport improvised mounting groups and platforms to allow foot troops to hitch a ride to and from combat. First comes the Leman Russ battle tank. This vehicle measures 7 meters long, 4.8 meters wide and 4.4 meters tall, with a total weight of 60 tons when clad in ferro-steel armor plating. Its primary weapon is a turret-mounted battle cannon. This heavy, enlarged version of the autocannon fires explosive rounds, which can equally decimate enemy infantry and armor. As secondary armaments, it boasts a forward-mounted las cannon and side-mounted heavy weapons which might include heavy bolters, heavy flamers, multi-melters, and plasma cannons. All of these systems are operated by a minimum crew of 4 that includes a commander, a driver, a loader, and a main gunner. A notable variant of the Leman Russ seen on Armageddon is the Executioner. Produced by the Forge world of Riser, it features a plasma destroyer gun on the main turret. This weapon unleashes temperamental but extremely powerful blasts of plasma which can melt the most heavily armored of vehicles or defensive positions. Pushing this destructive potential even further is the Destroyer variant of the Leman Russ. Its main and only armament is a laser destroyer. This powerful weapon concentrates all its energy into a tight beam, which can blast through armor at extreme range. Thus, it is primarily used for tank hunter modes of operation. With these individual vehicles introduced, let us now assemble them into formations. The smallest armored unit is the squadron, which might consist of about 3 to 5 of the same vehicle type. A typical tank squadron, for instance, is made up of 3 Leman Russ vehicles, one of which acts as the leader, whose commander bears the rank of lieutenant. Altogether, they are crewed by around 12 to 18 men. Such squadrons can meet a variety of roles based on the specific configuration of its vehicles. For instance, strike squadrons may be stripped down for rapid flanking maneuvers. Assault squadrons bring demolisher cannons to blast apart fortified positions. And tank hunter squadrons wield destroyers for long-range anti-armor. A typical tank company is made up of 3 tank squadrons, with a 4th HQ squadron led by a captain. Once more, it should be noted that many company variants exist, especially among the Steel Legion, whose doctrine benefits most from mixed squadron formations. Often this means adding in light bikes and sentinels for scouting or signals duties, as well as throwing in mechanized infantry platoons aboard chimeras to help take and hold ground. Added to these will be the same offering of support units available to the infantry companies. With the tanks covered, we can now briefly touch upon the artillery. In keeping with Steel Legion doctrine, an emphasis is placed on the use of self-propelled versions of the standard Imperial Guard artillery types. This is most commonly done by reusing the Chimera chassis, which is already so easily mass-produced and maintained by the manufactorums of Armageddon. The most basic version is the Griffon. This light artillery tank brings to bear a heavy mortar cannon for devastating air bursts against masses of light infantry or vehicles in the open. The Basilisk is another conversion which mounts an Earthshaker cannon atop its chassis. This weapon is capable of shredding anything caught within its blast radius up to 50 kilometers away using supercharged rounds. Furthermore, the additional armor and self-contained systems on the Armageddon pattern Basilisk let it operate in a highly autonomous manner whilst shrugging off small arms fire and even light vehicle rounds. Such modifications allow the Steel Legion to wield this basilisk far more aggressively than usual, deploying it in the thick of the action and even lowering its gun to act as a makeshift tank on the front lines. Another notable Chimera conversion is the Manticore. Unlike its traditional artillery counterparts, this vehicle type uses a rocket launcher as its primary weapon. 4 firing positions allow for the loading of multiple missile variants for countering any number of ground and air targets at extreme range. The most iconic of these is the Storm Eagle rocket, which unleashes a cloud of bomblets to carpet an area with pulverizing force. The Hydra is yet another Chimera conversion, which mounts 2 twin-linked autocannons atop its hull. In this configuration, the vehicle is primarily used as an anti-air platform. However, its heavy-caliber, explosive, high rate of fire rounds can also be trained upon ground targets to shred infantry and light vehicle formations. Larger, self-propelled artillery also exists based on other vehicle bases. The Bombard, for instance, uses a reinforced Lehman Russ chassis, which allows it to bear the weight of a heavy siege mortar. This massive weapon is among the largest and most powerful of its class, often being reserved for use against enemy fortifications or other static targets. When organized for battle, these self-propelled artillery will typically operate in batteries of 3 to 5 vehicles led by a lieutenant. Within such teams, the lead vehicle and its crew will take on the role of the unit's fire direction center. Additional vehicles, such as sentinels or bikes, may accompany a battery to assist in observation and even ammunition loading. Next, multiple batteries come together to form a heavy artillery company led by a captain. Their composition can take many forms and often intentionally boasts a wide array of artillery types to dynamically counter whatever obstacles a fast-moving Steel Legion column might encounter. As always, such capabilities can be further boosted by the inclusion of additional company-level support units. But none of this would be possible without the use of dedicated support vehicles. After all, a rapid advance force is worthless if it outruns its supply of fuel and ammunition. To this end, the Steel Legion makes ample use of the Trojan support vehicle. It is essentially a hollowed-out chimera with an extra-heavy lift crane that is used to efficiently transport and offload literal tons of materials, while also assisting in other duties such as towing, resupply, and various engineering tasks. Additional capacity can be provided through the use of hitched transport trailers. Closely related to the Trojan is the Atlas. It is a modified version of a Lehman Russ tank with an upgraded engine and crane. These alterations allow for the recovery and repair of damaged vehicles. In essence, they are the medics of the mechanized world. Such support vehicles are everywhere in the Steel Legion, either being bolted on to individual units for organic support or formed up into their own squadrons and companies in the supply column. Now, with all these ground forces having been covered, it will be worth discussing the air forces of the Steel Legion. While many options are available, the most common picks are 2 vertical takeoff vehicle types, the Valkyrie and the Vulture. The Valkyrie is an airborne assault carrier crewed by a pilot, a navigator, and 2 door gunners. Measuring 19 by 17 meters and weighing 13 tons, it nonetheless streaks across the sky at incredible speeds thanks to its pair of top-mounted turbojets. From above, it can rain death upon the foe with multi-lasers, Hellstrike missiles, and rocket pods. Close air support at low or hovering speeds is made possible by door-mounted heavy bolters, which can sweep away any targets that lie below. When the time is right, the hatch to the Valkyrie's cargo bay can be swung open to unload a squad of up to 12 troopers who might jump, rappel, or use grav chutes to touch down in the landing zone. With extra fuel, Valkyries can also deploy heavier payloads of drop sentinels, Cyclops demolition vehicles, or sentry guns. Specialized Valkyrie variants such as Sky Talon or Spectre can transport even heavier cargo and light vehicles. The Vulture gunship is a relative of the Valkyrie, which has traded out its carrier features for more firepower. Here, its pilot and weapons operator can make use of a range of weapons packages meant for anti-infantry, anti-armor, or bunker buster capabilities. Thus armed, it can operate well in advance of a ground-based force to soften up or disrupt the foe with deep strike missions. Alternatively, the Vulture can also be used for prolonged close air support, whilst Valkyries cycle in and out of the combat zone. Beyond the Valkyrie and Vulture, more airships from the Aeronautica Imperialis might also be present on Armageddon. These include various classes of fighters, bombers, and transports, which we shall not have time to cover today. Whilst on missions, these aircraft may operate independently, but are more often grouped into flights of at least 2 or more similar vehicles. Flights are then grouped into squadrons of about 3 to 10 vehicles. A relatively common tactical squadron, for instance, will feature a few flights of Valkyries for troop deployment, whilst being supported by a flight or 2 of Vultures. However, it should be noted that these are rather large aerial formations which might be found in the context of an Air Force wing. Squadrons will tend to be on the smaller end of the scale, when broken off to operate directly alongside ground forces. With all these separate facets of the Astra Militarum's combined arms having been covered, let us now finally bring them all together into a regiment. This is our proud Steel Legion of Armageddon. As a reminder, our model consists of 12 companies, which include the following: 1 Regimental HQ Company, 2 Infantry Companies, 4 Mechanized Infantry Companies, 2 Fire Support Companies, 2 Tank Companies, and 1 Artillery Company. To each of these, we have bolted on additional company-level support units, which we felt best helped round off their offensive capabilities. At the overall regimental level, we have also added 2 additional support formations. The options to choose from typically include any units from the following list: a Rough Rider platoon, a Valkyrie-born Stormtrooper platoon, an artillery battery, a Sentinel squadron, a missile battery, a super heavy tank, a flak battery, and a Vulture squadron. From this list, we have chosen for our model regiment to use one of the Valkyrie and one of the Vulture units. In addition, we have also included an Omniscient envoy with roughly 50 tech priests and engineers to tend to the mechanized elements of the force. Altogether, it is an impressive formation which boasts over 2,400 troops and a huge vehicle pool of some 50 light vehicles, 60 heavy vehicles, and 8 aircraft. This stands in stark contrast to most other Guard regiments who can only match this sort of firepower when they roll out their armoured formations. Even then, such peers may still find themselves outgunned, on account of all the integrated support weapons available to the Steel Legion. Such is the strength of combined arms. And so the men and women of the Steel Legion stand ready to defend their homes once more, with the dawning of a fourth war for Armageddon. Join us next time as we continue this journey through the true size of the Imperial Guard regiments. What topics should we cover next? A big thanks to our fans on Patreon and YouTube memberships for supporting the channel, and to the researchers, writers, and artists for making this episode possible. We couldn't have done it without this team and this community. If you liked this episode, be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and check out these other related videos. See you in the next one.